Scenario 3 of ISEL, developed within the scope of the PAFSE project, is entitled Noise Pollution and Quality of Life. In terms of the science content from the scenario, the study of noise in its various aspects, such as environmental noise, neighborhood noise or work noise, the respective physical concepts and the impact that this problem has on the quality of life, is relevant fundamentally because it is a problem often ignored or disregarded, but that can have a great impact on people's lives, such as affecting concentration during work, disturbing a night's sleep, or in extreme cases, leading to premature death. Studying the noise problem through the analysis of the physical parameters of sound, the different noise sources, and the recording of sound measurements by analyzing the respective results in graphs of noise spectrum or Powell spectral density relating to the legislation in force, namely the General Noise Regulation, will make students develop methodologies for analyzing, presenting solutions, and arguing, discussing facts about scientific problems and thus contributing to their interest in subjects related to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. The scientific and pedagogical content of the scenario allows teachers and students to explore the problem of different existing types of noises and their relationship with public health and subsequently the presentation of action measures in their communities to mitigate public health issues arising from noise. So, the students will analyze how we can characterize the physical concept of sound and noise, the basic distinguish between those physical parameters. Then they will study the different sources of noise pollution and how those sources can be impactful in terms of quality of life on people's lives and subsequently with the study of all these aspects, the students will formulate several action measures to be taken, both individually and at community level, to mitigate public health problems arising from noise pollution. The scenario contains high-level activities based on research, learning objects, interaction with online tools, and updated facts. The scenario raises awareness among students and the school community about the problem of noise and its impact on people's quality of life, helping to combat this problem by contributing to a more sustainable lifestyle. So, this scenario will allow teachers to address simultaneously, in an interactive and scientific way, the problem of noise through a tool that supports the upload of audio files and that displays noise spectrograms, frequency analysis over time, and this tool will also address possible to have a possible analysis of the public health risks associated with each frequency band, range, and exposure time. So, the learning scenario will increase the students' understanding about the phenomenon of noise and the associated physical concepts, the handling reading of sound measuring instruments, and how, in this case, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, can contribute to anticipate, mitigate, and solve threats to public health, in this case, in the specific case of this scenario, public health issues regarding or arising due to noise pollution. In terms of learning objectives that we want students to achieve at the end of the scenario, we want students to be able to use computational tools to plot tables, graphs, and other data that enables sound measurement and noise characterization. We will also want students to be able to obtain, evaluate, and communicate scientific data and facts on the impacts of noise exposure on wildlife, human health, uses scientific facts to build argumentation about the impacts of noise of community health and give examples of sources of noise pollution that affect community health and quality of life. And we will also want the students to, at the end of the scenario, be able to propose measures to combat noise and communicate them to the school community and alike. In terms of scenario structure, the scenario was conceived to be implemented in 6 classes of 40 to 45 minutes and a variable number of extra sessions for students to develop their school research project, which will be the project output, and we have reserved 4 to 6 lessons, maybe more, maybe less, and all of the time that the scenario will need to be implemented is subjected to the time constraints, the school curriculum, the student's prior knowledge, and the time that the project needs to be implemented is up for the teacher's responsibility. So it is not mandatory that the scenario should be implemented in 6 classes. It can be more, it can be less. It depends on what the teacher thinks it's best. From classes 1 to 6, students should work alone or in groups depending on the activity, and this is also from professor's responsibility on how students will work throughout the scenario. And to carry out the school research project, in here, yes, students should be divided in groups. It will be necessary that the students use the computer or their smartphones, and they will also have to have basic knowledge of Word or PowerPoint, as well as some basic knowledge of English. In terms of class planning, we have defined a certain amount of time in class 1 so that students could be introduced to the main objectives of PAFSE project and what they will be working in the next activities. And then to start addressing the scenario, we want to address the physical concept of sound and the physical concept of noise, and the differences between those two physical parameters. And then in class 2, students should analyze in more depth the concept of noise, and they should study their sources, types of exposure, and public health impacts arising from noise exposure. And then in the class 3, they will have a practical activity of sound and noise measurements. In this activity, basically, students will have an online tool where they will perform a series of sound measurements around the school facilities. So they will be divided in groups, and each group will be performing a series of measurements in different parts of the school facilities. And then in class 4, they will treat this data, or which means they will analyze the sound measurements, and they will verify based on the physical parameters, the types of exposure and sources of noise pollution that they study in the first 2 classes. They will analyze which of the sound measurements can be considered noise, and they have to justify why they think that those measurements are effectively noise measurements. And then in class 5, students should present and debate the conclusions that they obtain regarding public health issues arising from noise pollution. In this case specifically, the noise pollution measurements that they conducted in classes 3, and then they will have to withdraw some measures and behavior to be adopted to reduce noise pollution and thus improve public health. And finally, in class 6, it will be reserved a certain time to complete the activities of class 5, and then the school the school research project should be addressed. And basically, the school project intends that based on the knowledge acquired in the previous classes and following the scientific methods, each group should make observation in the school environment and identify a series of measures to be adopted in the school community to reduce noise. So basically, the students will have to revisit all the work they have done throughout the scenario implementation, and then they will have to apply that knowledge to their school community in identifying what kind of measures can be adopted by the school community to reduce noise pollution. And then these measures should be presented in the form of a poster. And this project should also be multidisciplinary. That is, not only the professor that is coordinating the activities of the scenario should be involved in the development or of the school research project, but also, for example, the arts teacher can help students in the design and creativity of the scientific poster, and the ICT teacher can help, for example, students in the creation of the scientific presentation in PowerPoint. Moreover, the professors, the language professors, for example, the Portuguese or English teachers, can help in the proofreading of text produced in both outputs, which are the scientific presentation and the poster. In this, to try to make the project as most complete possible.